The PlayStation State of Play dropped not too long ago, and they actually had some good games to show off this time. But I'm not here to talk about good games, I'm here to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. All jokes aside, Secret the Mimic actually looks really solid, and from what I heard from people who played the PAX Flix demo, the gameplay is pretty fun as well. I really like the new direction Fnaf is going with them using more animatronic designs that aren't just bear, rabbit, chicken, fox. Though, let's be for real, we're never gonna escape this rabbit curse that franchise has. But hey, at least we're getting more unique creatures mixed in. Like, look at this mushroom nigga. He's so like fat and goofy. I don't know how the fuck he's gonna get you. As cool as this trailer is, it's leaving a lot of non-hardcore Fnaf fans confused on who the fuck is the Mimic and what the hell is going on. Which, I don't blame them for thinking that, since if you're not a book reader, the games do jack shit to explain the Mimic, so you want to know turkey baloney. Though, threat not, young Nika-chan, because I am here. The spoon feeds you the Mimic lore, so you're all caught up on this, hopefully not mid-game, drops in June. But first, I want to do a little bit of self-promotion. Subscribe, nigga! So the story of the Mimic begins in this Tales of Pizzaplex book called The Mimic, so you can probably guess what it's going to be about. It starts with this dude Edwin Murray, who was this really smart inventor guy, kind of like Henry Emily or like William Afton or fucking, I don't know, Tails. Edwin had lost his wife during childbirth, which took a massive hit on him, leading him to have to sell his company to Fazbear Entertainment, which basically guaranteed he was going to die at some point. Edwin also had a kid named David that he never really had time to take care of due to always doing Fazbear's bitch work 24/7. He got the idea to make an AI that could mimic behaviors from David's toy bed that he made to mimic this plushie that he had, which would be important for later. He put the AI inside the endoskeleton so it can actually like move around and play and take care of David, thus freeing him up to do more Fazbear's bitch work. The AI was called the Mimic 1 program because it mimics things. This is all happening in 1970s, by the way. I don't know how they had technology so advanced, but you know, just gotta roll with it. The Mimic copied everything David did and used to be really gentle and caring. Important to note that the Mimic wasn't just copying and repeating, but was also learning and evolving to like fucking Pokemon. So pretty much you could see you stroking your shit one day and then the next day adapt that behavior to like sloppy foot jobs at IHOP or some shit. I don't know, this is just an example. Unfortunately, he also started copying bad behaviors. For example, Edwin would be sent Fazbear costumes to be like worked on, and David had a habit of hiding inside of them, which would get them dirty, and the Mimic started doing that as well, which Edwin didn't fuck with. So him being a cruel and merciless god who would not stand for any disobeyment, he naturally removes the Mimic's fucking legs, this making it so the Mimic can't move around, which ultimately, goddamn, turned out to be a bad idea because David ran into the road and got hit by a fucking car. I mean, game ended in GTA. After this, Edwin shuts himself in with grief for 2 weeks, isolating himself from the rest of the world. The Mimic approaches him and starts mimicking David, you know, the last thing he was programmed to do. But Edwin loses his shit and beats the brakes out of the Mimic, destroying it and also teaching it violence. Edwin vanishes and Fazbear takes ownership over the factory, and they send teams of people to collect any animatronic shit that he's been working on. Remember this for later, it'll be important. One of those teams fit the Mimic with new legs from a different endoskeleton, though unfortunately the Mimic mimics everything, and the last thing he learned was getting the shit beat out of him, so naturally he brutally murders everyone there. Fazbear really wanted their fursuits back though, so they sent another team of people actually being named characters this time, that being Henry, Glenn, and Dominic. Don't get attached though, the Mimic brutally murders them all, not wearing cute little fur outfits now, which is something he'll be doing in a new game, as you can see from the trailer. One of those costumes being a jester costume, not sure when or how, but Fazbear's Entertainment does successfully manage to retrieve the Mimic. If I had to guess, this is probably when the game's gonna take place, because I doubt they're gonna retell the stories in the game, so that'll be kind of lame. Also in the stories, usually like a team of niggas there, and right now you're just one nigga. I don't know, maybe it'll be like Cassie's dad or some shit. Fazbear had used the Mimic program that they stole to make a whole line of Mimics to do basic animatronic work that they were too lazy to code. Of course, it ended up being a huge fucking fail, so all the Mimics were shut down. A lot of what the Mimics does up to this point is just theory, so I'll have to say that for another section. While the Pizzaplex was being built though, the Fnaf pizzeria was originally planned to be. A lot of what the Mimic does at this point is just theories, so I'll say that for another theory section. While the Pizzaplex was being built, the Fnaf pizzeria was originally planned to be a museum underneath it. They had to cancel that though when the Glam Rocks got delivered because the Mimic had hitched a ride with them now wearing bunny ears, so take that as you will. One of the construction workers tasked the Mimic with ripping off the heads and limbs of endoskeleton heads, then stacking them in a pile. He did this flawlessly until he ran out of endoskeletons to rip the heads and limbs off of, so naturally started moving to the construction workers, which made construction of the museum didn't really last long after that. One construction worker did manage to escape though, sealing the mimic inside the pizza place with a concrete wall on his way out, and two group of dumbass kids sneak their way in because they're dumb, and all of them get brutally murdered in gruesome ways. Except for one, who actually managed to trick the mimic into getting inside a spring lock suit. She set off the spring lock, crushing the mimic long enough for her to flick the switch in the back of his neck, deactivating her, making her one of the only survivors of the mimic cell. Kudos to her. Sorry all your friends died. She just one chick, like she tried to hide inside a different spring lock suit, and like the mimic like fucking ripped open the back of it and got inside, like double crushing her, so poor her. Anyways, the next big notable events involving the mimic take place in the story The Storyteller. Edwin, Murray, and Fazbear Entertainment, don't know why the fuck he's still working with them, get into odds with Fazbear wanting to implement an AI writing system to write stories for the Pizzaplex known as the Storyteller Tree. Meanwhile, Edwin rightfully thinks it's a shitty idea and tries to stop them from doing it, but no one really listens to him because he's a stupid old man. Edwin decides to put it into his own hands and catches some workers bringing a white tiger head into the tree while he's stalking them, which is foreshadowing a plot reveal later. The tree goes online and tomfoolery ensues almost immediately. Something I found hella rad? Something I found hella interesting though was that the storyteller is actually responsible for the animatronic's weird personality traits and security breach. I mean, kinda. He's responsible for them being assholes and shit in security breach. Once the story tree is active, Roxy becomes more of like an insecure bully. Monty becomes a roid head crash out. Lemon Freddy becomes a spoiled brat, which I find funny as fuck. Lemon Chicken became violent and kind of zombie-like, and her cupcake became an unleashed mud, kind of like the one from the movie, which is also funny as fuck. This mixed with all the other strange shit that happened around the Pizzaplex during security breach, like the staff blocks tweaking out, motivates Edwin to sneak into the storyteller tree, discovering that the white tiger head I mentioned earlier is a random Mimic 1 program. Mr. Barrels, the head of Fazbear Entertainment, catches Edwin sneaking into the storyteller tree, so he locks him inside the tree, blaming him for all the fuck-ups around the Pizzaplex. Mr. Barrels comes back to the tree an unspecified amount of time later to find Edwin dead with scribble notes all around him. The scribble notes are filled with like random equations and shit, and like I'm sorry's written, likely apologizing for the creating the mimic or for not being able to stop it, or I don't know, killing his kid or some shit. Karma's a bitch though. Mr. Barrels should have known better since his own fucking security system overrides, locking him inside the tree just like he did to Edwin. Side note, had to smell like straight 30-cent whoop ass in that musty ass tree. I feel really bad for both of them. I mean, not really Mr. Barrels because kind of, you know, put it up on himself, but Edwin definitely. Anyways, the next main story involving mimic shenanigans is the story Tiger Rock. It starts with the storyteller tree getting taken down for all the shit it started. Though the Mimic 1 program isn't gone, so we later see it in a VR booth taking form of an animatronic known as Tiger Rock, which is obviously inspired by the Tiger Rock plushie and head that I've been talking about this whole time. There's more clues to Tiger Rock being the mimic, like it knowing how to play hide and seek. Tiger Rock attacks the main character dude, but he manages to escape the VR booth. But it's some Inception type shit, so he didn't really escape. He's still in like a simulation. And Tiger Rock attacks him again when he managed to escape for real this time. But bro, still not safe in the real world because Tiger Rock pulls up on little homie's crib while he's sleeping and fucking rips his arm off. Yeah, the books get kind of dark and weird when it comes to kills and what happens to the main characters. Luckily, this is the last time we're going to talk about the books for today's video because the Mimic doesn't really do much in the rest of them. So now we're moving on to the games. I'm gonna skip over Security Breach because for the most part, the Mimic's inclusion is mostly just theorized. So I'll say that for the theory video I've been talking about this whole time, they may or may not actually do, considering that I'm fucking lazy. The plot of Ruin follows his new child protagonist named Cassie, who is the friend of Gregory. She breaks into the Pizzaplex after getting a call from Gregory saying he needed help. While sneaking around, she discovers a walkie-talkie with Gregory on the other end begging to be saved from underneath the Pizzaplex. Of course, that's not actually Gregory, it's the Mimic who, after the events of the epilogues, got trapped in the Pizzaplex by Gregory and Vanessa. It's unknown how long after the true ending of Security Breach, aka the Princess Quest ending, this takes place. We can at least for the most part put together how Gregory and Vanessa managed to trap the Mimic though. Gregory likely had led the Mimic to the back room with his walkie-talkie while Vanessa trapped him inside with cement, since we can see a wall of cement blocking the door and we see Gregory's backpack outside the room where the Mimic's trapped in. Also, Gregory's walkie-talkie's in the room with the Mimic trapped, so I doubt he just like the Mimic was able to go out and grab it and bring it back. Plus, if he was able to go out and get it, he wanted to just, you know, go back. There's also a lot of servers and computers and nerd shit in his room, which is actually the main control panel that runs the Mexis program, an ARG computer system that locks down the entire Pizzaplex to stop people from reaching the Mimic. So clearly Gregory and Vanessa knew they couldn't let this thing out under any circumstances, which is foreshadowing for later. Anyways, back to Cassie. She listens to the mimic over the Roxy talkie, diving further into the Pizzaplex. She ends up getting a Venny mask from this mask box. This is actually probably her dad. That's a different thing that we're not getting to in this video. That lets her access the ARG world. Though while in the ARG world, she's being constantly stalked by this slinky purple rabbit thing, who's the main defense system of the Mex's program. Through the help of the mimic and help by, Cassie manages to shut down all the security nodes, which unfortunately includes Roxy. Well, unfortunately, if you actually like Roxy, I thought Roxy was a huge bitch, so I was happy to kill her ass. Once making it to the mimic cage, Cassie destroys that cement wall I was talking about earlier using a forklift, and is shocked to discover that Gregory is actually the mimic. Oh no! Roxy shows up in the last minute and holds off the mimic long enough for Cassie to escape, with the real Gregory helping her over the Roxy talkie. He didn't really help her for long though, since once she's seemingly safe in the elevator, Gregory crashes it to not risk the mimic escaping. It's heavily implied that Cassie survives this crash though, because during the post-credit scene you can hear Roxy's voice calling for Cassie to wake up. There's a lot of references to the books in here too that are neat that I want to call out, like obviously the mimics here, but also they added a lot of the costumes from the book, which we'll be seeing a lot of in the new mimic game when it comes out. Also the fact that they had the light flickers while he chases you is also referenced to the books, because I didn't mention this earlier, the mimic actually affects electricity when it's around it and shit. Also Tyrot plushie, which shows up in Help Wanted 2. But I'm not going to really talk about Help Wanted 2 either, because again, that game is mostly Glitch Trap, though there is a few references to Mimic in there, because, you know, Glitch Trap is most likely connected to the Mimic. Also, Help Eye shows up on like the TV screen, and the Help Eye is like heavily implied to be the Mimic as well. We also see the Tiger Rock plushie that I've been talking about this whole video, as well as Jackie, who's been like the main promotion animatronic for Secret of the Mimic. So there is some connections there, but not really enough to like, so I'll probably make a Help Wanted 2 video at some point, maybe. Again, I'm really fucking lazy. That's pretty much it for the Mimic in the game series. There's a lot that's theorized to be caused by him, but since those are just theories, I'll cover that in that theory video. But again, most likely won't make, I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna make a theory, I'm gonna get a lot of shit wrong, people are getting mad. But right now, I'm just covering over like the facts or like the heavily important shit.
Hey guys, thanks for watching my second ever video essay. I really appreciate you making it to the end of the video. If you like more content like this, make sure you smash that like button. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!